Redux is a state management library for JavaScript applications. Typically, an application is represented as a tree of components. Each of these components has a local state that can be shared between the parent and the child components. This can be hard to maintain or reason about when the components are heavily dependent on data stored in the state of other components. Redux fixes this by providing a predictable state container that can be used throughout your entire application. Redux works by maintaining a single source of truth called the store. The store holds the entire state of our application. Each of the application's components subscribes to the data of this store, making it possible to have instant reactivity whenever the state is changed. When a user performs a possible state change, such as clicking a button, an action is dispatched. The store then runs through a set of reducers, which updates the entire application state by creating a copy of the previous state with the differences made by the action. The updated state is then made available to the components through subscription. Imagine we have a simple application with a list of items that we can add to the cart for later purchase. Each component will have its state with a list of items. To be able to interact with each other's states, one will have to put everything in the parent component and pass the values to the children through props. In this simple use case, that wouldn't be such a problem. However, imagine having a complex component tree with a significant dependency on each other's states. To use Redux, start by installing the Redux toolkit. Now create a store folder and inside create another folder called slices. Slices simply represent data in the store. We'll create a slice for the cart and another for the overall items available in our application. Each slice will need a name, an initial state, and some reducers. Here, the name is cart and the initial state will be of type array of strings, which represents the items in the cart and will have an initial value of an empty array. Finally, the reducers are functions that will alter the store state. They receive the state variable as well as the action performed. Simply call this reducer add and push the payload we get from the action to the state, which remember is an array of strings. Export the slice and do the same thing for the items slice. Only this time we simply return the reducer in case there is already a value saved in the state so we don't have duplicates. Now create an index.ts file in the store folder, import the two slices you've just created and export them. To create the actual store, export a new constant with the name store, which will be returned by the configure store function from Redux. Inside, create an object with the reducer property and create the reducer property for each of the slices with the corresponding name. Simply pass in the reducer variable we get from each of the slices. In the items component, we can now import the slices and the store and subscribe to the store. This will be called every time the state of the store changes. Get the current state of the store and update the internal component state with the corresponding values. Now, to update the store, instead of updating the local state on button click, we can dispatch the action to add the current item to the item's global state. We can do the same thing by dispatching the add action from the cart slice when clicking on the add to cart button. In the cart component, simply subscribe to the store changes and update the local state with the corresponding values. Now both components can communicate with the global store and maintain reactivity independently of where they are in the component tree. To level up your game, install the Redux DevTools browser extension. This extension not only provides a broader sense of the application's current state, but also allows you to trace all of the actions the user made, giving you a more fine-grained control over your application. Now that you have implemented the global state management, you may want it to persist on page reloads. To achieve this, install Redux Persist and import the Persist store and reducer functions as well as the storage in your store file. Create your configuration with the key in storage, wrap your reducers with the Persist reducer, and finally wrap your store with the Persist store. Now every time the state changes, it will be stored in the local storage. By refreshing the page, you can see that the data remains persistent in the components. I hope this introduction to Redux has been helpful, and if so, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers!